Hello and welcome back to Continental Club this week, where Doogie and McCubbin are both on holiday. So we've got a very special lineup for you. First up, one of the Euro Football Daily founding fathers, I believe, Chris Hamill. Chris, how are you feeling? It's a hot day. Are you excited for the summer?
I was going to say, it's almost like we've drafted in the under-21 squad here, not to do Sam a disservice. And then I realised I am the oldest here. So no one's won in that scenario. I've offended Sam. I've reminded myself of my own mortality. And now I wish I wasn't on this show.
Oh, I can tell everyone at home, before he was on, he was buzzing to be on Continental Club.
No, I am.
So.
Always a pleasure.
Good. That's good to have you. Sam, are you excited for the Euros, mate? How are you feeling about it?
I'm good, bro, but I was expecting you to say, and the new champion of Europe. Remember the James talk that you was talking? Let's not forget that stuff. Obviously, it's a different show, but I just want to remind you that you had a lot to say about my Chelsea players and we're the champions of Europe. But apart from that, weather's looking good, Euros is looking good. You know, I'm happy. I'm very happy right now.
Well, good. At least neither of you had booked a holiday to Portugal next week, like I had, only to discover in the last hour that Portugal is no longer on the group list. So I'm stuck at home for now. But yeah, Sam, I think the Champions League is old news, mate. I think we're well past it.
It will never be old news until you say sorry for all of the stuff I was saying to you, Sam. You are the best, and everything that you say is right. Then I'm gonna keep on going.
I don't think that's applicable. And to be honest, our main contentious point was whether or not Reece James was going to go to the Euros. If Trent is now injured, then it was just a completely wasted 20-minute argument, wasn't it? So
can we flash up the WhatsApp chat picture where Sam mugs off Tuchel when he's appointed on screen now?
Chill out. Yes. No, but the thing is, the reality of that is I was in my emotions. I took it back a few days later. But as Football Daily, if you guys haven't realised, these guys love to hold on to things. And they're going to hold on to it, but it don't matter. I love Tuchel.
The irony of saying we love to hold on to things. Unbelievable.
I agree. Sam is a fickle Chelsea fan. Don't believe anything that comes out.
Chill out. Don't just. You're dumb.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about Chelsea. Certainly not Chelsea in this episode, because we're ramping up our Euros coverage on Euro Football Daily. And this week we wanted to look at some of the more kind of underrated players going into the tournament. Maybe the players that have snuck under the radar. Maybe the players that could bag a big move to maybe a bigger club at the end of the tournament. Chris put out a tweet yesterday about this. I think we had over 100 replies with your suggestions. So we'll try and include as many of those. Squad. Yeah, great return. So we'll try and include as many of those as possible. Chris, who are we kicking off with?
I thought I'd start in a very unglamorous area with a veteran, battle-born Danish defender in the form of Simon Kjær. Now, I've witnessed his defensive prowess firsthand this season, as you know, Celtic succumbed to AC Milan in the Europa League. But I've got to say, what a renaissance. You know, he's in Milan. It's clearly rubbed off on him, the whole Renaissance culture. Because after a fairly nomadic career, I think it's fair to describe it as, that's taken him to the likes of Wolfsburg, Fenerbahce, Lille, Sevilla. He's playing some of his best football right now, you know, in his early to mid-30s in the Italian capital. And he starts, near enough every game when fit. He's appeared 28 times in Serie A this season. And yeah, they finished in the Champions League spots, didn't they? For the first time since 2013. And him and, Tomori, Romagnoli dropped out a little bit. Very much at the heart of that. Gave them a very stable footing to be a bit more expansive at the other end of the pitch. Of course, Çalhanoğlu stole some of the headlines, didn't he? Donnarumma now is, for the wrong reasons, probably departing for Juventus. Takes a little bit of the feel-good away. But, we'll move on swiftly from that and in to Simon Kjær's numbers. Because, 3.4 tackles and interceptions. His best return from a defensive standpoint since he left Lille for Turkey in 2015. So it's not just, opinion. This is not subjective. It's objective. His numbers are great. 5.5 clearances per 90. Only second to Tomori in the squad. And his excellent reading of the game, understanding of the game, clearly his communication in that back line has been pivotal. His long balls, I think, are a little bit underrated and could be a useful weapon in the Danes' armoury this Euros tournament. Already racked up he's a centurion, 105 caps to his name since making his debut in 2009. So I just think what a fine way to end a very solid career. And, it gives me hope yet that as I approach my 30s, there is chance for a second peak. Because, Football Daily version 1.0 and 2.0 pretty much, suck the life out of me. Denmark, of course, in a group with Finland, Belgium and Russia. So I think they have a very good chance of progressing. And, this is his, fourth tournament? So, and maybe his last, unless he keeps on going and going. But I just thought he deserved a little shout out. I don't know. I think it's at Wisniewski 98 suggested it, and I agreed emphatically.
Yeah, he's in that AC Milan squad, which is so young as well. I think its average age is 24.8 years. He is one of that kind of the real rock and experienced head with Ibrahimovic as well. I think Ibrahimovic really boosts that number up by about a year or three, doesn't it? Kjer, he's always been in and around high-level transfers. You don't get to the clubs that he's been to without being a good defender. He's just never really settled, but just looks like he's really loving life over in Italy, and great for AC Milan as well. A really sound purchase from Sevilla a couple of years back, and has proven to be an incredible servant to Denmark and the national side as well. And I think Denmark could do some damage at this Euros. I certainly think they'll beat Finland. Russia game will be an interesting clash to see. So I think Denmark, ones to watch, and certainly Simon Kjær, he'll be leading the charge from the back. Certainly. If we look at someone who will be sort of gunning for goals at this tournament, though, Sam, we'll cross over to Spain, because who is our next suggestion?
Yeah, this one came in from, I'm going to try and say this right. It's Davy Nash Aguar 8. It'll be on screen, hopefully. But his suggestion is a suggestion that a lot of people put in, to be honest, and that is Gerard Moreno. I don't know if he's underrated, though, because his numbers this season have been absolutely mad. The 29-year-old has literally had the best season that he's ever had since he's been a professional. He's netted 23 goals in La Liga for Villarreal, and they finished seventh, and obviously they won the Europa League with Unai Emery. And going into this campaign, I was like a few other people. I wasn't aware of him as much, but he kind of told me that, listen, I might not be a man for the future, but I'm the man for right now, because his numbers, like I said, have been incredible. He got 7 goals for Villarreal in the Europa League, including a goal against Manchester United in the final. His hold-up play is also incredible. He posted 7 assists in La Liga, whilst his 18 goal creation was the 4th most of any player in the Spanish top flight. So as you can see, he literally has had an incredible season. He's also surprisingly a good dribbler with 2.5 dribbles completed and 4.7 progressive carries per match, and he's currently running at a career high of 2.9 shots per 90 with 1.2 on target. And obviously there was a lot of the conversation about whether Enrique did a madness, not including any Real Madrid player going into the Euros, only taking 24 players. But I think a man that none of the Spanish outlets or even the Spanish fans will worry about is Moreno, because he has proved this season that he could do a madness for them going into the tournament. Obviously, he's going to be competing with Morata for the central striking option, but yeah, he's done bits this season. So I don't really know if it's underrated, but I hear the shout because I wasn't really too aware of him before this season.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, if you had to look at that Spanish side, who do you think's starting? Would you put Moreno over Morata on current form? I mean, 43 goal and assists for club and country in 2021. That is some unbelievable numbers. Yeah,
well, in the recent World Cup qualifiers, he's turned to Morata to lead the line, hasn't he? And Dani Olmo has supported, as well as Ferran Torres. So it's still not overly clear, and he has been quite experimental with some of his sides, particularly in the UEFA Nations, Luis Enrique. I mean, I think the back four changed on a gamely basis. On a game-by-game basis. I don't know if gamely basis makes sense. But there we have it. So, I'm none the wiser as to what he's going to go with. But I do like his siege mentality and his ballsy approach to, only taking 24 rather than 26. Clearly, he's got it a rotated side worked out in his mind, but perhaps only 3 or 4 real nailed-on starters.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Moreno should be actually one of them, in my opinion. Especially with Qatar just like a year away as well. I think this is his opportunity to lock down that starting spot. He's in the twilight of his career, about 29 years old now. So Moreno, unbelievable season, and he doesn't miss a penalty. He's ice cold on the spot. So they may need that as they go deeper into the tournament. All right, we'll move on to, actually, this was the most liked suggestion that anyone put out in Chris's tweet, and that's Saša Kalajdžić, who is the Austrian forward, dubbed the Austrian Peter Crouch in some platforms because of their 6'7", absolutely, big imposing figure, but actually does look a lot different to Peter Crouch in his style of play. And he comes from Stuttgart, and it feels like every week here on Eurofootball Daily we're profiling a different player coming out of this Stuttgart team. You've got Patrick Van Straten's favourite, Silas Wamangituka. Borna Souza, he's featured on a few scout reports. And then their keeper, Gregor Kobel, he recently was signed by Borussia Dortmund for 15 million euros. Doogie and my wishes have been answered, and it looks like Roman Berkey will not be number 1 at Dortmund next season. Long overdue switch up there. But Saša Kalajdžić, he's a really imposing figure, and he's done incredibly well this season too. 16 goals and 5 assists in the German top flight. And at just 23, it looks like he probably will be leading the line for Austria. He started in that friendly against England recently, got sort of poleaxed by Tyrone Mings, but didn't really make much else of an impact. But he has been really effective for Austria in his previous campaigns. Chris, if you've been following the Scotland team, he managed to get a double at Hampden Park recently, so he's been on a bit of a goal-scoring form. If we look at him as a player, you won't be surprised to hear that 8 of his goals and 44% of his efforts do come with his head, and he lets off an impressive 2.8 shots per 90. He's actually got a very deft finish, even with his feet. He's got great footwork and a bit of a turn of pace, which I don't think you remember seeing from Peter Crouch, certainly. But yeah, he's an absolute weapon in the box. All of his goals came from there. And Austria have a genuine kind of dead ball specialist in Marcel Sabitzer. So if they can get Kalajdžić in the right positions, I think this could be a real asset to them going forward into the competition. Like I said, Austria didn't look particularly impressive against England, but these friendlies are always a bit of an interesting period going into the tournament proper. Like I said, he scored 3 from 3 in recent World Cup qualifiers. And this is an incredible return for someone who was only in the Austrian Bundesliga 2 seasons ago, not for one of the mainstream clubs, and hardly featured at all in the Bundesliga, the second Bundesliga last season for Stuttgart, with Mario Gomez leading their line there. But he's just come on strong. Another incredible sort of find from Sven Mislintat, the director over at Stuttgart. And I'm really excited to see him here. It's great to see so many people sort of agreeing with that on Twitter. So yeah, Saša Kalajdžić, he really is one to watch for this tournament. Could explode, could get a big move afterwards. I've seen him linked with the likes of West Ham and Tottenham. Chris, a player that I don't think has been linked with enough moves anywhere, and one of the stars of one of your favourite teams, Atalanta, is Ruslan Malinowski, sent in by @Mazrur_Parker. What do you make of this guy?
Well, I'm glad you and Mazrur Parker have brought this up, because I suggested Ukraine as one of my dark horses on Sunday Vibes, and Zach and Joe had nothing to say about them, and they were underwhelmed at my suggestion. It went down like a sack of spuds, and I was, just trying to recover for the next 2 to 3 minutes to kindle some sort of interest in the side that is, of course, now led by Shevchenko. And, I mentioned Simon Kjær as a Renaissance man. What about Shevchenko? Ballon d'Or winner, politician, golfer, model, and now he's the manager of the national side. He's literally Ukraine's version of Action Man. There's just nothing he can't do. And he's probably feeling like that about his, attacking midfielder, Ruslan Malinowski. And he doesn't perform anywhere near as eye-catchingly, to invent another word on this show. But for country than club, I think he put up 20 goals and assists at Atalanta this term in 23 starts, as he was sort of phased into the side, and he replaced Papu Gomez in that kind of 3-8-10 role.
Yeah.
But he could be really important to them in this tournament. And Yeah, let's just touch upon some of his numbers with Ladea, because they were absolutely superb. And if Shevchenko can find the way to really, accentuate his strengths, then they'll be in a good position. 6 shot creating actions per 90 is huge, as is 3.8 key passes per 90. 7.4 progressive passes, which is moving the ball, I think, 5 yards closer or 10 yards closer to the opposition's goal than where the move started, or just completing a pass into the final third. And yeah, he's an excellent carrier of the ball. I think he's in the top 5% of players for carries sort of into the opposition's third. Dead ball specialist too. He's got a bit of a hammer of a left foot. And at 28 years old, I mean, probably should be experiencing his prime, and he is. He's delivering on his ability, on his promise, and it wasn't a dead cert that was going to happen. Only 6 goals in 35 appearances for Ukraine. I mean, I would argue that's an okay return, given that they had a pretty poor Euro 2016. Not quite sure how the UEFA Nations League went, but qualification was good, wasn't it? They went unbeaten. I think they finished top as well. And they usurped a bigger side in that as well. It escapes me. I'm trying to put Ukraine behind me.
They lost. They got demolished by France about 7-0, I think, and then they went and beat them in the return fixture. So they sort of regained a bit of pride there. So yeah,
bounce back ability from the boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I think Malinowski deserves tremendous credit. Not just for what he's done, internationally, but domestically speaking. And yeah, there is a lot of sides looking for that kind of 8-10 player, isn't there? That sort of, I don't know, James Maddison occupies so well for Leicester, or that you see Smith Rowe, performs admirably for Arsenal, and he's sort of a finished product ready to go right now. So if you've got kind of an Everton, West Ham, a team that was challenging one of the traditional top 6, he might not be the worst player to stump some cash up for.
I agree. What's interesting about him is, although he's got this kind of long distance shooting ability, a lot of his assists this year have just been very deft flicks just through the back line. He's got
a deft something.
Yeah, I've heard that a few times with you. You love it.
He's he's. I mean, listen, it helps playing at Atalanta when you've got the likes of Zapata and Luis Muriel just doing the madness every game there, and that's probably helped. They've probably got a great reading there. And actually, I think this is Ukraine's biggest problem, is their striking options aren't particularly eye-catching there. They've got other players like Vitaly Mikolenko at left back, hugely exciting. Tashankov on the wing as well. Malinowski certainly in the midfield. I just worry for their attacking options, whether or not he'll have that kind of supporting cast to help unleash his best. But yes, completely agree with you, Chris. I think after this tournament, at this age, it might be time for him to maybe look for another step, although he does have Champions League football with Atalanta next season. So let's see.
I don't think he's going to be playing at a high level, but he could definitely engineer himself a payday, let's say. But I think we'll probably be relatively happy with where he is.
Yeah, no, I agree there. Sam, someone, I don't know if you'd say he divides opinion, but someone I think who could play a really big part of this Euros. Who have we got next?
Yeah, man, this one comes in from James McDonough, and it is Scotty McTominay. It's interesting because even though United lost that final against Villarreal, he was one of their better players on the night. You could see that he wanted it throughout the whole night, and he was quite unlucky to be on the losing side. But yeah, I can understand when people can say that he's going to be a driving force for Scotland. As we've seen, Scotland have got a few players that could perform on the bigger stage. They've got Kieran Tierney, they've got Robertson, they've got McGinn, they've got the Champions League winner Gilmore as well. So obviously they've got a few players that can I had to get that in there just so you know who I'm talking about. But yeah, they've got a few players that can definitely shine this summer. Obviously McTominay is 24 years old, made 32 appearances this term. He's got 4 goals and 1 assist, 87% pass accuracy, but I think he's been one of the key players for United this season. Obviously, he does split opinion because people say he might not be as impactful or the finished article, but for a player at his age to be thrown into such a big team and being asked to play at such a high level week in, week out, I think he's doing quite a good job. He makes 4.2 tackles and interceptions per 90, 2.6 blocks per 90 as well, 4.8 progressive passes. So I think with those stats, you can kind of see that he's on the right path to being a very good player for United and Scotland. Maybe he's not that finished article now, and it's got the United fans maybe thinking that they need someone else. But for Scotland, I think he can be very, very good. He also can play in the centre-back position for them as well to kind of shore them up back there. So I think he can definitely... He's definitely underrated, let's say. He's underrated just because of the fact that some fans may want more. But, like I said, he's got the caps. The stats are looking good for him. And he's made 22 caps for Scotland as well. So he's not seasoned, but he's got the experience behind him to be impactful this summer.
Yeah, I think Scotland's out of nowhere a surprisingly good squad. Obviously got that 2-2 draw in a friendly of the Netherlands the other day, despite having a pretty depleted squad as a result of a coronavirus outbreak.
Anyone that's been in 1 mile of John Fleck, yeah.
Their holiday to the Algarve's been ruined too. So I'm with John Fleck on that one. But McTominay, I think if you look at some of the kind of midfielders around him, Stuart Armstrong, they could do quite well. I mean, Chris, of the other Scotland players, one of the other suggestions that was thrown in was David Turnbull. I know he's someone that you've been a big fan of. Of the other Scottish players who perhaps maybe underrated, undervalued going into this tournament, who would you say? Is David Turnbull the man?
Oh, I mean, I think he's very highly rated, at least by people who watch the domestic game. He's been probably the best prospect even to come out of Scottish football, perhaps since Kieran Tierney's emergence under Ronnie Dyler. He is that good, man. 11 goal involvements, only played a very limited part in the season, was man of the match against Lille on his Europa League debut. You know, this is a side that won the league, and he looked very comfortable and sort of dictated play from his 8 come 10 position. I feel like I'm just banging on about the same profile of player here, but yes, very, very good. I think two names that we should probably keep our eyes out for, maybe Kevin Nisbet and Lyndon Dykes. Yeah. Pretty unglamorous forwards, maybe, let's say. I mean, Dykes had a strong finish to in the championship with QPR. I think he eventually reached double figures. Pretty impressive given he had a slow start. And Kevin Nisbet, who was playing for Wraith Rovers 2 years ago, had an extremely good campaign for Hibs and has been subject of the bids from an awful lot of championship sides. But I think he's probably holding out for a bigger move than that. So yeah, if they can get amongst the goals, you know, if one of them can forge a partnership with Che Adams, because Steve Clarke has tended to play just one centre forward with a midfielder playing off him, which has, you know, been Ryan Christie on occasion. It's been various other players. If Scotland can, I don't know, be a little bit more gutsy, let's say, but then, you know, Steve Clarke's also done a very good job of making them less porous. So I don't know if my tactics here even apply. It'd be great to see two men up top.
Yeah, I agree. Nesbitt got on the score sheet against the Netherlands too, so he's up and running there. All right, we'll move on to a suggestion from @Luke_C168. This is one of my favourite players in the whole of Serie A, and Doogie Critchy absolutely loves this bloke too. It's Piotr Zieliński. Arguably, what I'm going to say, one of the best first touches in the whole of Italy.
Would you describe it as deft?
Is there a word which is like deaf but bigger, sort of a better version of deaf? I don't know. If it is, Zielinski's about it. Honestly, one of the most skillful. He nutmegs people for fun, knocks it around the corner. I really enjoy watching Zieliński play over at Napoli, and I think this guy could be the key to Poland unlocking their potential at the Euros this tournament. To give you an idea, he scored 8 and assisted 10 for the partner pay this season. He's currently being linked with both Manchester clubs. It's no surprise to see someone like Guardiola interested in Zieliński there, probably around the €40 million mark, I reckon, as well. 4.1 shots and key passes per 90, completed 342 progressive carries, which is the third most in the whole of Serie A. And, you know, his 23 goal-creating actions is absolutely huge. He's really sort of calm and measured on the ball, sort of a beautiful tactician. And I think if you look at that Polish sides, they've got Lewandowski and Milik, actually, who's been in excellent form for Marseille. Ended as their top scorer after joining in January. I think scored 9 there under Jorge Sampaoli. They've got 2 hugely dangerous forwards, potentially the best forward in the best player in the world in Lewandowski. And I think Zieliński is going to be the key to unlocking their potential there. 59 appearances for Poland already, 6 goals so far, though he hasn't scored since 2018. However, you know, he's there just to feed Lever and see how far they'll go. They're in a group with Slovakia, Sweden and Spain. once again, I think very plausible for Poland to be looking to get out of this group. They've got some sort of regular names running through that squad as well. Decent goalkeeper starting with Szczesny. So yeah, I'm excited to see what Poland can do. And another player I'm really excited to see, because this guy was the star of the last Euros, wasn't he, Sam? Because our next player is Renato Sanches. Really interesting suggestion from @Saka_goat. Because he's had a whether or not you believe in that, let us know below. But yeah, what do you think about Renato Sanches? Because after kind of a weird period, it looks like he's back in contention to do bits for Portugal.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy for him, man. Like after that, like you said, after the the Euros in 2016, obviously he won the Golden Boy award because he featured in that tournament. And then going to Bayern Munich from Benfica, you'd thought that that's just going to be him. His trajectory is going to go up, and then suddenly, I don't know, it wasn't going right for him at all. Obviously, he had a failed loan spell to Swansea, and then going back to Lille. He signed for Lille in 2019 for 20 million euros, and I guess now you can kind of see that it's really paying off. He's got his confidence back. The confidence that we saw from a young player in 2016 is the confidence that we're seeing now, and he's arguably been one of their best players to win the league and title. Obviously, he's missed a few games due to injury, but he has played 28 games this season, and even in their final game, you could see the maturity from him. Obviously, he got that key assist that kind of gave them the momentum going into the final minutes of the game and stuff. But in total, he's got 1 goal and 3 assists this season. Completes 2.8 dribbles, 2.9 shot creating actions per 90 as well. And like I said, he's just got a maturity that I think will be very good for the Portugal side this Euros. Obviously, we've mentioned some of the other players that they have, like Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, Silva, but they do need a box-to-box midfielder, a kind of a destroyer in a sense that can kind of balance that out. And I think Sanches, at the age of 23, he's been there before. I think he's going to be quite key for them going into this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, didn't even feature in the 2018 preliminary squad, which was 35-man deep. He got 12 caps when he was a teenager for Portugal, and only has got 12 in the 5 years since. Looks like he's back on the Portuguese radar. I completely agree with you, Sam. I watched a lot of Lille's running, and he was explosive. He was really doing some damage going into the final third there. So I'm excited to see. Hopefully he'll get some game time. Hopefully we'll see what he can do once more. Just some other suggestions which people sent in. Yannick Carrasco, I think he could play a big part. We did a recent scout report on him about how important he's been for Atletico. I think it's going to be the same for Belgium as well. Slightly ageing Belgian squad. And also Leonardo Spinazzola for Roma. The left back there, 28 years old, probably really does go under the radar. Certainly, but 2 goals, 4 assists, 1.6 key passes per 90, 2.2 dribbles. That's huge for a left back. And it looks like he's up against Emerson Palmieri for a starting berth there. And I reckon on current form, he certainly deserves an opportunity to start. Italy looking to do bits at this tournament as well. Chris, just wanted to throw to you the final suggestion here, because there was a bit of a debate on your tweet about who was going to start in goal for Spain. Because a lot of people were suggesting that Robert Sanchez would be the man. I know you spoke about him in Sunday Vibes, but why do you think that he's building momentum going into this tournament?
I think, Brighton defensively were very, very sound. Obviously, we know that the Premier League table lied when it came to their, what overall position that they deserved. I think they were conceding the second fewest shots per 90. So admittedly, Sanchez's goal, well guarded compared to his sort of peers around him. I'm thinking of the Dubravkas. I'm thinking of Meslier for Leeds. But still, a 71% save rate, 10 clean sheets for Brighton. Obviously, David De Gea. And I don't know much about Unai Simon, but David De Gea not exactly coming into the tournament on the back of scintillating form. So he's the only one really in the ascendancy, I guess. And we know that Luis Enrique has not been scared to entrust the youth. He's been the least conservative Spanish manager that we've seen for a long, long time. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw him juggle, not just his back four, but his goalkeeper as well. I do think this is a bit of a project tournament for Spain.
Yeah,
I'm not sure the Spanish Federation have huge expectations, just because of how experimental the squad is, how young the squad is. But yeah, he could be a part of that. And who's to say, you know, he wouldn't deserve it? 2 or 3 years ago, I think he's on loan at Tranmere. And now he's, you know, pushing for first choice in the Spain squad. It's a fairy tale stuff, really.
Huge.
Yeah, a lot of suggestions that Unai Simon of Bilbao will be the man.
I don't know too much about him, but yeah.
Yeah, I think he's still incredibly young as well, but does look a bit worrying for De Gea. Anyway, those are all of our suggestions for the underrated players going into Euro 2020. What do you think? Let us know down in the comments below, and we're going to move on to some quickfire questions. So this week we won't be doing a big match preview. However, if you are looking for something to watch this weekend, I recommend going to check out the Under-21 Euros final. It's been quite a delayed tournament, but we're finally there. By the time this goes out, it will the final. We'll know the final two. The semi-final lineup is currently Spain versus Portugal and the Netherlands versus Germany. The Netherlands, who beat probably one of the best under-21 sides you'll ever see in France, had multi-millions worth of talent running through that side, but the Netherlands got the better of them. Myron Boadu up front, and they're my pick for the tournament. So go check that out on Sunday if you're looking for something to watch. However, we'll move on to some quick fire questions. Sam, I'll come to you first. I think you'll enjoy this one first. So this comes from @Vasi Deterlinara 8, brilliant, which is N'Golo Kante Ballon d'Or ? Sam, take it away.
Don't think it's a question. I don't think it's a question, to be honest. He is the best player in the world right now. I don't care what anyone says. You can't get, I think it was 3 or 4 back-to-back Champions League man of the matches. Yeah, leading into the final. And he obviously got the final man of the match award. But the man is amazing. I can't describe how good he is in it. But it does depend on how well France do. I think if they touch the semis in the Euros, then I think he'll get it. But if someone like a Ronaldo or Lewandowski does well in that competition, then I can see them going with the goal scorers, because as we've seen in previous years, except from the anomaly with Modric, the players that win it are the ones that score the most goals in the season in it. But if they want to switch it up and give it to a man that deserves it the most, Kante is that man.
Chris, I mean, I'm on the Lewandowski train, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Lewandowski's owed one, isn't he? He's just owed one. It's a little bit like Modric when he was awarded the Ballon d'Or. It was almost like a lifetime achievement award, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I think if France do go far, Sam has a legitimate point. Like if he and people have very short memories in football, don't they? They'll think of the Champions League. They'll think of any potential success at the Euros, and he should be in the fray. But I'd be devastated if Robert Lewandowski broke, Gerd Muller's goal-scoring record, and was just as consistent as he has been for the last 2 to 3 years, and walks away without one. It'd be a travesty, yeah.
Yeah. It'd be amazing to see a defensive-minded midfielder get the Ballon d'Or. Be a refreshing kind of change.
He's been playing more advanced, hasn't he? I think this is what Sarri tried to do with him, right? And people were like, "Stop it! Just put him in DM." And now that Tuchel's doing it, everyone's like, "Look how good he is further up the pitch."
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. He's a much better passer than people give him credit for. He's like an anti-10. He's like a little destructor up front. Obviously, his pressing's back on point. Like his energies look back on point. He should be in a shortlist, but I think I'm with you, Henry.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go, Sam. All right. Next question. It's quite a fun one from it's Abdul90. Best national team in the last 2 decades besides Spain. Chris, do you have an opinion on this at all?
I think I'd probably go Germany. I was doing a piece on Joachim Löw earlier, and the consistency of that man in his 15 years as coach has been pretty unreal. So, I mean, he's led Germany to 6 major tournaments. He's reached 3 finals, 6 semi-finals. To put all of that into perspective, of all the 15 England managers, from, if you go from like Winterbottom way back when in the 40s to Gareth Southgate right now, they've only reached 1 final and 4 semis combined.
Damning stats. Damning.
He's not, as charismatic as some of the others. Obviously, his career at club level was quite, quiet, for want of a better phrase, prior to being assistant and to getting the big job. So that might cost him, but in these sort of conversations. But amazing consistency, yeah.
Oh, Sam, any ideas? Who you think?
I think it's hard to go against what Chris said. To be fair, I didn't really think of Germany, but yeah, when you say it like that, and the teams that they've had across that period it's been quite good. But I was gonna say France. France from like of recent, even with Benzema coming back, Benzema, whichever way, you know what I mean. But with him coming back into the squad, they're looking strong. Like, not being funny, like if you look at all of the positions on the pitch, I believe they've got either a top class or world class player in that position, and you don't necessarily see that for every team, or you don't really see that as much as you used to. So yeah, I'd say France, but I agree with Chris.
You know what?
Germany.
If it was 25 years though, not 20, I think your answer would probably be more legitimate, because then you've got the 98 and you got the 98 World Cup winners at France and the 2000 Euros winners as well, right? Brazil have dropped off a little bit since when was their last World Cup? In 2002. I was answering this very much from a European perspective. It is much more interesting. I didn't think about it open. Yeah, but I still think I'd go Germany.
They're not the best sort of national team the last 2 decades, but I always think it's incredible that Uruguay are so consistently able to produce talent. They've always got players coming through. They won the 2011 Copa America, went deep into a number of World Cups recently. And for a country of only about 3.5 million people, they've got Oscar Tabarez as their coach. I absolutely love the system, the way it's set up there. They know exactly how to do national team football from a small country perspective. And they consistently are going deep and producing new stars all the time. You know, we're seeing players coming through. Ronald Araujo now at Barcelona. He could be the future of their defence. Yeah, the days of Godin and Suarez are obviously moving on, but they've got others coming through. So I think for me, Uruguay, I like the kind of underrated national team of the last 2 decades. But yeah, I probably agree with you. France and Spain of the last 2 decades. All right, final question from @MatterPaint21. I mean, it's been a whirlwind of a few weeks for managerial appointments. Made more stranger by Carlo Ancelotti upping sticks and moving from Everton to Real Madrid. Chris, what do you think? What is the best managerial appointment recently? That's Matt's question.
I remember seeing, as the news broke, an Everton fan put on Twitter, like, for fuck's sake, I've just called my dog Carlo. And I thought it was hilarious, man. What was the second part of your question? Sorry, because I was thinking about that tweet.
Well, if you have to look at all the managerial appointments that have taken place across the continent, what's the one that you look at and go, yeah, that makes a lot of sense?
I think there's only one. To be honest.
I mean, if Kante goes to Tottenham, that is unbelievable. That could be a bit of a game changer. But if we're talking about moves that have been cemented in the last couple of weeks or so, obviously my club a complete embarrassment on that front. I mean, Simone Inzaghi to Inter is smart, I guess.
Yeah, it's about as good as they can hope for.
Yeah, I'm really not sure. I mean, there's been all the moves in Germany were very amicable, weren't they? And it made a lot of sense Marco Rose going to Borussia Dortmund, but I don't really feel like that qualifies for this answer right now. I feel like you want something more recent. I'm struggling to think of anything maybe more solid than Inzaghi.
I would personally, I think Glasner from Wolfsburg to Eintracht Frankfurt, that's an unbelievable coup. I don't know how
he gone? Oliver Glasner? Yeah, didn't know that. Yeah, interesting.
Gone to Frankfurt, which I think is a really sort of clever piece of business there. Frankfurt, who are losing their sporting director, Freddy Bobic, he's worked wonders there. He's off to Hertha Berlin, so it'll be interesting to see if they can change things up there. But on the flip side, getting Glasner in, I think, is a remarkable work and another sort of weird piece of business in this crazy few weeks of managerial changes. But I mean, Sam, is there anything that's caught your eye on this front?
To be fair, when you said recently, I thought it was like a few months, and obviously the only answer we can say is Tuchel. But if we're talking about recent, like as in the last few weeks, or what could happen, I'm not really sure. Like, I'm more excited about what could potentially happen, like the Conte to Spurs. To be honest, I'm not excited about that, but it will be very interesting to see him back in the Prem with Spurs, and we've seen how he's done with two clubs that didn't have Champions League or European football, so that'll be exciting for Spurs fans. Nuno to Everton, I think that, or Nuno to Palace, I think that both of them would be very interesting.
You know what? Diego Martinez as well. I don't know what you boys think of him, but he did an unbelievable job at Granada over 3 years. And I don't know why he's not in the conversation for clubs like Palace and
Completely agree. I think Valencia almost jumped the gun getting Jose Bordalás in there from Getafe. Good manager, don't get me wrong, but I think if they just waited...
Yeah,
Diego
good if
Martinez,
you like watching 11 men kick the shit out of another 11 men.
Hey, you know who we didn't mention? Jose to Roma. I think that is
oh God, I don't know.
Interesting. It is interesting, and I think, to be fair, obviously everyone's got their own opinions on Jose, yeah. But one thing I do think is going to happen, we're going to see a few players, maybe like, you know, the old school players that Jose loves, and that are made for Italian football. I think that they're going to start congregating to Roma in it. I just see those type of players going over and Jose just being so happy.
Some of the transfer rumours have been pure nonsense that are coming out. Like Jose wants for Roma, like Donnarumma. They're not getting Donnarumma. Stop chasing all these players. But yeah, Gattuso to Fiorentina. That's the final one I'll say. That just seems so much fun. Do you know what I mean? I think Gattuso and Florence, that iconic strip. Want to see that happen. But anyway, guys, that's everything we've got. That's all we've got time for on Continental Club this week. Sam and Chris, thank you so much for joining me. Nice to have a bit of a fresh lineup on the show. Sam, you're on Snapchat this week. What are you working on?
So we spoke about Trent Alexander-Arnold and his injury today, as in Thursday, because we shoot this on a Thursday. And the weekend, you'll see what comes. But whatever stories that you see online that we don't normally feature on our YouTube shows, you'll see it on Snapchat. So make sure you subscribe.
Love it. And Chris, one of the questions that we didn't include was, what are our plans, EFD and FD's plans for Euros coverage? Have you got anything sort of enlightening that you can add to that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great if we still had our studios right. If we could shoot on location, then we would definitely be a bit more expansive. But it's all about making the best of what we've got, which we've done really well. The team's done really well over the course of this last year. So we'll just be zhuzhing our regular scheduled content up to reflect every stage of the Euros. Maybe you'll see some reactions. Maybe you'll see some, winners and losers, be a little bit more nimble across the week. So yeah, we'll take it from there.
Love it. All right, guys, at home, let us know who you think has been the best managerial appointment, whether or not you think Kante should win the Ballon d'Or, whether or not you think Billy Gilmour counts as a Champions League winner. Let us know in the comments, and we can't wait to see you next week. Bye-bye.